Hey, it's Debbie Potts, and I am doing a YouTube live to talk about metabolic testing. As I know, as an aging individual, endurance athlete, and a female, I want to avoid the weight gain that we hear about, the metabolic slowdown as we age. So, what do we do about it? We test and not guess. As a PNOE Metabolic Testing owner and a nutritional therapy practitioner and an FDN practitioner where I do functional lab testing and really play a role as a health investigator, putting all the missing pieces of a puzzle together to figure out how should you fuel, train in order to perform your best in life today. But also, we're looking at your future self. When you're 70, 80, 90, 100 years old, 70 is pretty young these days. My friends that are 70 look amazing because they're active. But how do you want to be showing up to life? How do you want to move as we age? So we really want to focus on the right strength training for you, the right mobility and movement throughout the day, the right type of training. And as endurance athletes, we tend to focus on more is better, the endurance training part, and maybe not prioritizing that strength training and the short, intense interval training as we age. I always say, stop blaming the aging process of why things aren't going the way we want them to or expect them to. If it worked in the past, it's going to work again. Well, things change. Our hormones change. Our stressors change. Our microbiome's different. Cortisol levels throughout the day. What else is going on? External stressors accumulate, but also are hidden sources of internal stress. So we want to look at all those elements and put it together, as I call the WHOLESTIC Method. Test and not guess, do an assessment, and figure out your personalized program. So going into why test and not guess, a couple blog posts I put on here at debbiepotts.net on why to test and not guess. So we want to avoid that metabolic slowdown. What do we learn when we do a metabolic test? Well, the resting test, RMR, is crucial for several reasons. As we age, we want to avoid that metabolic slowdown. Our metabolism is getting slower. We can't eat as much. We gain weight. Nothing's quite working. I'm getting fatter, not stronger. But really, we want to figure out the why. And how do you reverse that metabolic slowdown? Lifting weights and prioritizing protein. But not just those two things. If you're not doing the rest of it, the sleep hygiene routine, prioritizing how you start your day and how you end your day, and how to get quality of sleep, super essential, as well as looking at stress management. As you may know, my story with chronic stress, living life as a race, my body created shutdown, burnout, breakdown in my body systems, and we call, as FDN practitioners, metabolic chaos. Kind of catch all for everything goes crazy, domino effect. Now, metabolic slowdown is our focus. If we do a resting metabolism test, that's going to measure the number of calories our body needs to maintain basic physiological functions that rest as breathing, circulation, and cell production. Knowing your RMR helps establish a baseline for your daily calorie intake, ensuring that you consume enough energy to support your metabolism and avoid the unintended weight gain or loss. Now, I gained 30 pounds after being peak shape of my life, doing my best in Ironman Canada and Ironman Hawaii. And then I did my best 70.3 World Championships that year in a very hot weather race. And then I did some marathons and I was doing amazing and then couldn't do anything. I gained 30 pounds without changing my nutrition or my exercise. Stress impacts our body weight. Stress constantly, chronic stress impacts glucose. So we can respond to that lion, tiger, bear chasing us. But if we're being chased all day long from when we wake up to go to bed, we're raising that glucose all the time. What happens when you raise that glucose all the time from stress or from eating crappy food, sugars? Your insulin levels are constantly activated, and result, we become insulin resistant. We gain weight. So doing an RMR test can help figure out where you are right now. Ideally, let's retest every 3 months. So we can customize nutrition plans by getting a little bit of clues, insight on your metabolism, and how are you managing your protein intake and quality of protein, because all protein is not equal. Now, I use nutritional therapy assessment and look at that, as well as doing a 5-day food and mood log, really putting all this information together to help figure out, all right, what should you do to get that metabolism higher if it's lower? So we get a nice 15, 20-page report from the resting metabolism test and PNOE and then exercise test. We're also going to figure out how to optimize your training and performance. So knowing your resting metabolism test will help us, along with an exercise test, to determine what is appropriate calorie intake, how to fuel your workouts before, during, and after, and how to support recovery. This is essential for maintaining that muscle mass. We don't want to have the muscle mass decreasing as we get older. So we want to test your body fat too and your lean body mass if we can. Now we're getting that muscle mass. We want to avoid sarcopenia. We want to improve performance, not slow down. So we need to change things a little differently. And you don't have to be an athlete. I really feel people that are just trying to avoid that weight gain as we age might want to look at doing metabolism testing. You don't need to be an athlete to do VO2 max test as we do with PNOE. It's just really to find out your training zones and how best to get a personalized program. We want to monitor your metabolic health. Just because you exercise daily doesn't mean you're healthy on the inside. So I look at blood chemistry assessment. Ideally, we do a health investigation package and do a stool test, look at your microbiome, do you have any yeast overgrowth, any pathogens, parasites, fungus, all of that, as well as food sensitivity tests. Are you eating these healthy foods that are actually causing an immune reaction in your body? So we're going to look at insulin, CRP, all these inflammatory markers, and really work on metabolic health. Now, we want to ideally, as I said, improve our aging process by enhancing longevity. An important part of aging is leading a happy quality of life. I don't want to just live old. I want to be 89 years old and thriving as I age, not struggling. So it's that quality of life that's really important. So getting an RMR test is going to help you find out that RER, respiratory exchange ratio, the volume of oxygen in through the face mask and exhaling out carbon dioxide. The ratio of the two is giving us the respiratory exchange ratio, RER. That's going to help us determine how much carbohydrates and fat you are burning at rest and then during exercise test. So with this, we can figure out with formulas, your resting metabolic rate. And then we can figure out on top of that, your activity called TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, includes all the calories burned throughout the day. And then the RMR is adjusted based on daily calories or your daily activities, exercise, and other factors as your age, sex, and body composition. So the TDEE represents total number of calories you need to maintain your current weight, accounting for both resting and active energy expenditures. So with PNOE, the RMR test gives us this nice report, as I said, see where you are now in your metabolic rate, gives us the breakdown of fat to carb utilization and your overall calorie needs. And then we can figure out how maybe you want to prioritize, maybe if it's the strength training part we're missing, maybe it's a protein part, maybe it's both, maybe it's stress management. So we pick one priority, work on one thing at a time. Base hits to create a home run. Don't try to keep hitting that home run and then burn out and start over again. So we're creating lifestyle habits, one at a time. Behavior change takes time. So get a resting test. It takes 10 minutes to do the actual test, and then we'll get some data and go over those results. Now, what does the exercise test do? I just did a video on figuring out your 5 heart rate zones. So we want to figure out with the PNOE test, what is your zone 2, peak fat burning zone? Where do I want to train if I'm an endurance athlete to build that aerobic engine? Where should I train and how often each week should I do sprint interval training, or should I do them? Should I do zone 4, hit high intensity interval training? What does that mean? It means coming up to a certain heart rate, but coming down to recovery zone. So we want to identify your heart rate training zone. So zone 1, very light activity, that's your recovery below the ventilatory threshold, we call VT1. Zone 2 is light aerobic activity, that long sustained distance where we can breathe probably still through our nose. We're able to sing and carry on a conversation. That's where we train mostly for endurance athletes. If you're not training for a race, maybe just once a week's good. Now, zone 3 is where a lot of people do way too much time in that I know. They're not training easy enough to be zone 2, and they're not training hard enough to be interval training. They really end up in the middle, that zone 3. Now, that's moderate aerobic activity between your VT1 and VT2. Then we have zone 4 is going to be your 1 to 4 minute pieces. You hear people talk about that VO2 max workouts, high intensity, holding that heart rate 1 to 4 minutes, coming back down to zone 1 in between. And then we've got zone 5, just all out. Zone 5, go to your maximum you can go, and then recover. So train hard, recover harder. Now, interval training protocols, we've got different intervals. We can figure out what you need to do based on the test. What are you not doing enough of now? Where are your area of opportunities? As I said in my video today on my Instagram, recovery is zone 1. If you're going up to zone 5, down to zone 3, you're really probably just staying in your zone 3. You're not doing interval training. So we want to adapt to those stressors. Acute stress is good. Hormesis is the name of the acute stress that we get stronger from. We adapt and get stronger. Like we're building muscle. We break the muscle down. We get stronger in that recovery period, and then we can try again and challenge that strength or that in speed, power. So speed and power, we're using shorter intervals, zone 5 with long recovery in zone 1 to focus on explosive power and speed. What I need as I get older. I'm a Forrest Gump. I can go a long way. Good zone 1, zone 2. But if I have to go fast twitch muscle fibers all out, that is my struggle. That means I need to do more of it. It's my area of opportunity. And then we've got endurance, threshold improvement, zone 4 with short recovery periods. So in my blog post I linked here, you can see the zone 2 is more that long sustained distance, 40 minutes or more. I'm staying in zone 2. I don't do recovery intervals because I'm just staying there in that comfortable zone. Now, if I'm doing a tempo workout, that is say zone 3, I'm staying there 10 to 20 minutes. And then my work to rest ratio is 2.5 to 1. So that means I'm doing a tempo and then I'm going zone 1, 4 to 8 minutes. Now, if I'm doing a longer interval, 5 to 10 minutes, top of zone 3, bottom of 4, that will be recovery 2.5 to 5 minutes in zone 1. Now, the zone 4 intervals are, say, 45, 90 seconds. The recovery time in zone 1, the timer starts when you hit that zone 1 heart rate, 30 to 90 seconds. So that's more of a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, when we do our short, intense intervals going all out to zone 5, that is going to be RPE of 10. You're going 10 to 30 seconds. The recovery is longer. So it's a 1-to-2 ratio work to rest. So it's going to be 10-second sprint, and then you go 30-second recovery. It's 30 seconds all out, then you're doing 60 seconds. So twice as long. So think about that when you're doing your training and really figure out how to optimize your health, your weight, your fat loss, ideally not looking at your weight, but we want to increase lean mass, lose fat mass, how we can improve performance in life and sports, but really recreating our current self today so we're our best self in the future. So when I'm 80, I want to be able to get up and down off the floor. I want to be climbing the stairs, lifting my feet up without having to hold on to something. Just as Peter Attia's talked about in his book on his platform, when you're centenarian, the 100-year-old person Olympics, all these things. I want to be able to get up out of the pool. So think about those, what you can do. Those are some thoughts today. So head to debbiepotsnet to read more on these blog posts. I'll put more links into this live stream for you. Have a great day. Live your best life, your second half of your life.